Good afternoon, everyone. Jason here from JNN Collectors, and I've got a video for you today about grading. Yes, grading. Certainly one of the controversial topics in the hobby. And I just wanted to share some thoughts with you today and hopefully help you out a little bit as you decide which cards you want to send in for grading and which ones may be better left raw. So this stack of cards that you see here, you can see there are a bunch of slabs here. They're all SGC slabs. These were purchased on Whatnot, on the Whatnot app from very well-known consigner, KK Consignment, KK Consigners, KK. There's a bunch of them, a bunch of different channels they have. But the point is they're very well followed. So, in any given sale, there's typically a pretty good size audience. So that comes into play with what I'm about to tell you. Each of these cards that I bought, including this one in the front here, this Prism Red, White, and Blue Team Color Match, Cade Cunningham, in the SGC 10 slab. All these cards were purchased in the, I would say, $8 to $10 to $12 range. So, $10, give or take a couple bucks, in that range. Now, I'm not like an SGC expert, but I'm guessing the cost of SGC grading is somewhere in the ballpark of 15 bucks, all right? And then there's the shipping to SGC, or if you grade through, a bulk submitter, like there's a fee that you pay to ship it to them and a fee that you pay to get it shipped back. If you're really lucky, you can do that in person and save a little bit of money there. Cool. But I'm guessing that this card, just raw, card by itself, you'd probably pay $1 or $2 for this card. And then, there's a Giannis, another Giannis, a Zion Select Silver, a Trae Young Blue Prism, the Blue Cracked Ice, Trae Young, and the Keontae George. All these in SGC 10 slabs. Like I said, anywhere from like $8 to $12, below the cost of grading. All right. Now, when you are buying cards on Whatnot, be careful because I love the KK Consignment family or KK Card Shop. They do a great job. All right, and they do a great job doing what they're trying to do, and that's make their customers happy. And they do that by maximizing the value, of their sales, of the cards that they're trying to sell. And so I don't fault the consigners or the hosts for doing what they do, but what they'll often do is they'll say, come on, this is a Cade Cunningham card in an SGC 10. This is like, if it's at $10, this is $5 below the cost of grading. Okay, guess what? This is a perfect example of a card that should probably not be graded. All right, cool card. Now, if you PC Cade Cunningham and you like this card and you just want to get it slabbed, more power to you. Like, that's a different story, different narrative there. That's PC, cool. Do it. But if you're sending that card in with the hopes of getting a 10 so you can turn it for a profit, buyer beware on that. Grader beware on that. Like, just because a card looks great and it's a good player does not mean it should be graded. So, I've got another stack of cards here, and I've got my handy-dandy tablet here with market movers pulled up. I'm going to try and zoom in just a bit so that everyone can see it a little better. Hopefully you can all see that okay. All right, we're going to take a look at some cards, and we're going to consider the cost of grading with these cards to make the determination, hey, is this a good idea to send in this card or maybe not? All right, first one, 2023 Absolute Stroud. All right, last one, raw, sold for $2.51. Sorry, covering that up there. The last one in a PSA 10, Pop 2541, sold for $39. The last one in a PSA 9, which is down here a little further, Pop 643, sold for $11.50. So, I mean, CJ Stroud, like, probably a top 5 quarterback right now in the hobby. His base rookie sells for $250 here, the absolute. If you send it in, and with, let's say you go PSA, okay? Right now, if you have a membership, you can get a bulk special for $17.99 a card. And let's say you send in enough cards that the shipping cost, there and back, plus the grading fee, let's say you can get this graded for $20. All right? So you pay $250 for the card. You pay $20 to get it graded. And you might get a 9, in which case you're going to lose half your money. Or if you get a 10, you might make $10-15 on the card. So, okay. And I mean, you look at these pop numbers, 2541 versus 643. You know, if you look at the card and you think it's clean, then maybe it's worth it. You know, 2541 to 643 is a pretty good ratio. We'd be happy with that if we could get, call it 80% of our cards in 10s. That'd be good. But, you know, there's some risk, and then you might make $10-15. Sells for $39 here. Maybe you're able to sell it for $35 at a show. So maybe you're making $10 to $12. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Each person has to answer that for themselves. Let's take a look at another one. Illusions. All right. And yes, there is a point to this video. I'll get there in a little bit here. Illusions, number 43, Stroud. Go to the featured cards here. Base version, again, very similar range, 266. In the PSA 10, let's see here. This one goes for $27.25. So this one's worse than the absolute. If you get a really good copy of this for $250, call it $3, and then you pay $20 to grade it, then according to this right here, $27.25. You're pretty much going to break even if everything goes right. All right, let's look at another one. Juan Soto, having a really good playoffs for the Yankees. Still alive. Topps Archives. All right, Raw. Last one goes for $13.50. In a PSA 10, $48.95. In a PSA 9, $19.99. Let's say you got into this card for $10. Okay, you found it in a value box, you pay $10 for it. You spend $20 to get it graded. If you get a 9, you lose $10. If you get a 10, then you can put it on eBay for $50 and probably move it. Or you can take it to a show and someone's going to offer you $40 to $45 for it. Okay? So you're into it for 10, 20 grading, it's $30. I think that's very conservative. And if you are able to sell it for $45, then you make $15, you might make 10. Is it really worth the risk though? Because if it doesn't work out, you only get a 9, then you lose $10. Something to think about there. Now, why am I kind of sharing this? I'm going to step up my game a little bit here. All right, so I got a 23-24. Oops. Easy for me to type. Prism Teal Ice Stephen Curry. Okay, and this is numbered out of 225. Raw, this card last sold for $39, and that was in early September. So a little over a month ago, 5-6 weeks ago, something like that. In a PSA 9, just 3 days after the Raw, this card sold for $35. So you buy it for $39, you spend $20 to get it graded. If it only gets a 9, you know, you're losing. This is kind of crazy to me, that a raw is worth more than a PSA 9. It's not like a PSA 9 is a bad grade, but you're losing. And you're losing about $25 if this gets a 9. Now, if you get a 10, say you buy it for $39, you spend $20 to get it graded, you're into it for basically $60, then you double your money. Probably worth the risk. Not to mention, I think Steph Curry is a good long-term play. One of the best shooters ever. A great card. All right, let's look at a couple more that I'm looking to send in. 2018 Topps Archives. Ohtani. Woohoo! In the pitching stance, which is what we have here. Raw, $41. In the PSA 10, Pop 2276. This card goes for $195. In a 9, which is Pop 1030, this goes for $53. So, buy for 40, 41, whatever. Spend $20 to get it graded. You're into it for $60. You could more than triple your money here. Now, if you don't, pay $60 to get it, and you get it graded and it gets a 9, then you lose a little bit. But the upside is worth it. And if, all this is predicated on having a decent eye for the grading. You're not going to win 100% of the time. You need to know that going into it. If you send in 10 cards, you are not likely to get 10 PSA 10s. That's just not the way it works. All right? Now, it could happen, and maybe for some people it does. Not the case for me. Let's take a look at this one. A little older card here. 1999. Retro. Ozzie Smith Auto. Now, when you get cards like this, they're older, there may not be as many of them. Okay, so you kind of have to go to sales history here. And what you can see, this one is graded, but there is no listing of that in the title. You can just see it, though. In a 10. That probably would have been a really good thing for that seller to include. In a 10, this thing sold for $60. All right, what this is saying here is 27, 25. So, see, there's a 10 that sold in March, and nothing has really happened with Ozzie Smith. But in a 10, it sold for $138. So, this seller up here probably cost themselves somewhere in the ballpark of $80 by not including PSA 10 in their listing. All right? So be careful in your listings. That was not something I was planning on discussing here, but man, so much truth there. So anyhow, you buy this card for $25 raw. Pay $20 to get it graded. You're into it for, somewhere between $45 and $50. And if this sales right, hey, you do pretty well. Unless you're a bad lister and you only sell it for $60, then your profit is limited. One thing on the next card here. This is one that you've, this is kind of cool. When you're using a tool like Market Movers that depends on specific words being included in the listing, all right, you got to be really careful here. There are 3 of these cards that are listed here as retro, sign of the times, which you don't even see sign of the times on the front. It's on the back here. So there's one here for $550 raw, one for $175 raw in 2020. Then a BGS 9 back in 2015. So very relevant comp there for $228. Now, I want to show you something here. And this is just for, it's kind of a side note, because I kind of looked these up a little bit before I got here. Make sure that you kind of give yourself some flexibility and some grace on these listings, because what you might see is something like this. Now, the interesting thing here is if I click on the view listing right here, the item isn't here. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if it means it wasn't paid for, if it's just not a valid listing, but it was in March of 2024, so it's not ancient, right? If I go down here to this 550, I'm expecting, well, okay, maybe I expect wrong. If you were to have this card and you're to send it in for grading and you get a good grade on it, then be careful how much you list it for. Don't shortchange yourself. Make sure you look at all the comps. And if this thing is anywhere close to this, then you don't want to give it up for something like this. Oh, that one's free. All right. MLB playoff time, so I understand that this card is probably a little bit inflated right now, but nonetheless, we'll take a look at it. 2014 Topps Jose Ramirez rookie raw, $14.50. Last sold yesterday. In a PSA 10 sells for $100, and in a PSA 9 sells for $43. Now, I've seen this card around for a lot less than $10 or $15, more in the 5 to 10 range. So, if you see these flagship rookies of these superstar players that, as you're approaching the playoffs, or maybe you want to do this in the off season, whatever, and you can pick them up cheap. Here's the potential. Okay, you buy this card for, let's say you can get it for $5. Okay, you put $20 into grading it, you're gonna do it for $25. Even if it comes back a 9, right? And say you still give your buyer a nice discount. Let's say you sell it for $35. You can still make $10 on this card. Seems pretty cool. If you get a 10 on it and it sells for $100, you're even better off. But just something to keep in mind. So, cool in the Jose Ramirez there. A couple more cards I think I'll show you. Then we'll wrap up this video. Here's one. Not even going to look this up. Market Movers. This is one of those I was talking about earlier with being a PC card. All these scratches and whatever, those are just on the card saver. But Tariq Skubal had a fantastic year for the Tigers, and I love this card. I know it's horizontal, so most people don't love those as much, but I think this is a really cool card, the wind-up and everything. Just want to get this graded for the PC. Hoping it gets a 10. If it doesn't, I'll probably try and find a 10 and, get that instead. But, yeah, sometimes it's just fun to grade the cards for your PC. All right, two more popular cards, and then we'll get out of here. 2020-21, if I had my cursor in there. Prism, Anthony Edwards. All right, raw. Latest versions are doing $23 raw. I bought this card about a week ago for $10. So crazy how this is fluctuating right before the season starts. Let's say you're in at 20 though, put 20 with it for grading, you're into it for $40. You get the 9, you're losing a little bit. But if it gets up to the 10, 107. And again, let's take a look here. Pop 10, PSA 10 rather, pop 5,074, PSA 9, pop 6546. Maybe slightly more likely to get a 9 than a 10, so just be careful. But yeah, this card can have a nice return if you do pull the 10 on it. All right, final card. One of the top quarterbacks in the game right now, C.J. Stroud. This is a 2023 Donruss Optic Preview, pink. All right, the raw version of this card, $58.75. If you spend the $20 to get it graded, you're into it for almost $80. Woo! If you get the 9, you lose a lot. If you pull the 10, you make a little bit. To me, this is more of a longer-term hold. I think Stroud's the real deal. Here's another interesting thing. last SGC 10 went in July for $190. Now, I think what this tells me is that the hype around the time of the National and leading up to the season is definitely the time to sell your football. Okay, don't hold on to it until October. This SGC 10, not as good as the PSA 10, all right? So if this is selling for $190 in July and this is selling for $113 in October when he has had a very good start to his season, there you go. So I bought this a few weeks ago, and I think I'm going to send it in, risk getting the 9, but at the end of the day, I'm going to hold this for a while. So keep that in mind too as you're evaluating cards. It's not all about the here and now. If your plan is to hold it and see what happens longer term, more power to you. I think it's a great idea, but just be careful when you're out there grading. So just to recap, all these cards, cool, fun to look at, great players, great grades. SGC is a solid grading company, but probably not worth grading. General rule of thumb, I think, and I've got a few other cards in here. There's a cool Miggy that I'm going to get graded. And then you got the cool Breeze here too. I'm going to get graded, but biggest thing is make sure, use market movers, use eBay sold listings, use 130 point, use some kind of tool, okay, and determine, hey, is it worth it to grade this card? Okay, if it's a third or fourth year Prism color parallel of a superstar player, probably not worth grading, okay, unless it's Shohei Ohtani, then maybe, okay. But if it's a rookie, if it's a numbered parallel, if it's an autograph, if it's some kind of rare card where you do your homework and you determine, hey, yeah, this is worth getting graded because I can do fairly well with it, then great. So just be careful with what you're doing. Make sure it makes sense to grade. If it does, cool, send it in. If it doesn't, I would encourage you to keep it at home. Because, KK Consignment and all those, they're going to continue to tell you, hey, this card should be going for $20 because it costs $15 to grade it. No, those are cards that should not be graded. And so my goal with this video is to make sure that anyone who watches this doesn't lose a lot of money trying to grade cards that shouldn't be graded and then flip them. Or if you want to do that, at least you're fully aware going in. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you've not already. And if you have any grading tips, I would love to hear them. Please leave them in the comments. So take care, everyone. Talk to you soon.